Good morning. Welcome, and let me read some opening words for our chalice lighting. We bid you welcome. We do not ask that you believe or expect you to think a certain way, but only that you try to live a kindly, helpful life with the dignity proper to a human being. Welcome all who believe that religion is wider than any sect and deeper than any set of opinions. Welcome all who might find in our friendship strength and encouragement for daily living. Could you please join me for the shared affirmation of our mission of the UU Church of Farmington in your order of service? Seek answers everywhere, include everyone, live with compassion. So again, welcome to the Universalist Unitarian Church of Farmington. My name is Linda Brown. I'm a member of the executive board, and we're happy to be here today with, again, our new minister, Reverend Glenn Farley. And if there's anybody who is a first-time visitor and you feel comfortable with introducing yourselves, please feel free to stand and let us know who you are and where you came from.
Hi, I'm Dave Darling. I'm from Belleville. I learned about the church through Ed Priest and the principles of the church and your mission statement really speak to me, and I'm glad to be here.
Hi, Dave. Anybody else? Okay, well, again, welcome. Remember, you can always join us after the church out in the parking lot for our coffee hour. As a matter of fact, we have a special one today. And just a reminder that, and I think everybody's covered, but we do ask, out of an abundance of caution, that everybody stay masked while inside the building. I have a few announcements. One is from the Chalice Circles. UUCF Chalice Circle discussion groups will be starting on Monday evening, the 27th of this month of September. I believe they go every other Monday for a period of time, 10 weeks, I think. These will be small group gatherings that will give us opportunities to share our perspectives on various topics, getting to know one another at a level typically not available on Sunday mornings. There is more information in the order of service. Actually, I think it was in the e-blast that went out on Friday. And you can contact Barb Eglinton, George Rourke, or Dennis Monti for information and to sign up, I guess. Also, from membership, we have an ice cream social this afternoon after church, so hope everybody came ready for that. Also, on October 2nd, there will be a Ferndale Pride event from 1 to 8, and we are looking for representatives from UCF to volunteer at that event, and if you're interested, please contact Hope Sorensen. And she's back there, and her email was, again, in the e-blast. If you check your Friday e-blast, I refer you to that. There's a lot of other announcements of what's going on around here at the church. For those who are willing and able, would you please join us for, it's a new hymn to us, hymn number 1006 in the teal hymnal, In My Quiet Sorrow. And Diana's going to play it through once for us.
Our reading this morning is from the Reverend Sean Parker Dennison. He's a Unitarian Universalist minister who has served congregations in California, Utah, and Illinois. I'm sitting here heartbroken. I could try to convince you that it's about the state of the world with its tragedies, suffering, and seeming lack of compassion, but it's not. I'm brokenhearted because a relationship that had swept me off my feet is over. I'm sad because sometimes love isn't enough. There are patterns, habits, preferences, and just ordinary circumstances that get in the way. Relationships end. As a minister, I sometimes feel like I'm supposed to take my heartbreak and transform it immediately into hope with some instant alchemy. I think to myself, I have to find a way to bring this back around to how love never fails. I'm a minister. I'm embarrassed to be so weary with grief, so heavy with disappointment. I do believe love with a capital L, never fails. Still, heartbreak hurts, and it takes time to heal. Even if you've been to seminary, preach regularly, and have a well-articulated theology rooted in love, you don't get a pass from the pain. And even though it's hard, that is a good thing. Sitting here brokenhearted reminds me how tender we all are. Heartbreak happens. Love never fails. Both of these things are true. And when I make room for the seeming paradox, I feel a little better. I remember I'm not alone. I remember I can choose to be kind and loving to people all around who may be heartbroken too. And I remember that I am held by a love that is bigger than any one relationship, a love that has never and will never let me go. What do you do when your heart hurts? An acquaintance once asked me this question over social media. I immediately recognized it as a profound question. I didn't know the context of her question. I didn't know what was going on in her life that brought that question up for her. So I just answered it as best I could. This morning, I want to share with you my answer and then tease out a little more details afterwards. So I received a Facebook Messenger message. What do you do when your heart hurts? What a profound question. How we live into that question determines in large part the story of our lives. M. Scott Peck, the American psychiatrist and best-selling author of the book The Road Less Traveled, wrote, "The attempt to avoid legitimate suffering lies at the root of all emotional illness." The attempt to avoid legitimate suffering lies at the root of all emotional illness. Most of us believe that heartache requires or demands action. We must do something to stop it. No, we mustn't. But we do it anyway. We avoid it. We distract ourselves from it. We numb it with screens or alcohol or drugs, sex or food or gambling. Even more extreme, we can blame or scapegoat, manipulate or project our pain onto others and attack them. None of this works because heartache is not a problem to be fixed or solved or avoided. That's the fundamental misunderstanding. Heartache is a part of the human experience and therefore is to be experienced. We feel heartache when something is lost. What can be lost? Well, a person, a relationship, a place, or a thing. We can lose an ideal, an opportunity, an identity, or some perception. Our losses may be real losses or they may be perceived losses. But we are losing things left and right every day of our lives. This is the nature of existence, always in flux, entropy, decay, aging and death and rebirth. From a spiritual perspective, we cannot own other people, places, or things, and thus, in that sense, we cannot lose them. We can't lose what we've never owned in the first place. But within this truth, life changes do happen. Relationships can change or end, and we need time to process and adjust. The only true identity we have is that of oneness with all that is, all reality. So when a human experiences loss, grief is initiated. Grief is that cornucopia of emotions and behaviors and processes. Humans are well equipped to grieve by millions of years of evolution. Modern ideas and the destruction of traditional cultures and ways of life has confused us on how to grieve. But I would gently recommend closing your eyes and bringing your awareness to your heart. Cultivate a spirit of openness and curiosity. Bring your focus to your bodily sensations. As thoughts or stories you tell yourself about this heartache arise, we can gently let them go. Listen to your body speak. Perhaps you feel waves of aching, sensations of warmth or cold, tightness or constriction. Perhaps you feel electric or numb. Perhaps tears will flow. If judgment arises, you can observe it and let it go. Gentle awareness, curious awareness, softness. Recognize your bodily experience of heartache connects you with every human ancestor you have. Everyone has felt something similar to what you are feeling now. Thankfully, my friend found my response helpful. She wrote back to me on Facebook, "Thank you. This response speaks directly to the heart of the matter with profound clarity." My answer to her was organic. I didn't really do research before I wrote my response, save for the fact I looked up that M. Scott Peck quote to get it right. But for a sermon, it's more important to do some research. There was a passage by a licensed clinical social worker, Karen Koenig, in her handbook on emotional health, and I want to share a few sentences from that. She writes, "To become a whole, healthy person, you have to stop trying to avoid feeling badly and welcome all your emotions without judgment, no matter what they are. It might seem hard to imagine right now, but perhaps someday you'll be glad you can embrace feeling helpless, disappointed, sad, lonely, or confused. It will mean you are functioning appropriately, that you possess the ability to be honest with yourself, that you've reached a high level of consciousness and emotional maturity, that you no longer have to live in terror of what's inside you." Imagine what that would feel like. Feelings are one of the myriad of mystical things that binds us together as human beings. We all know sorrow. We all know joy. For many people, it comes as a huge relief to realize that whatever they're experiencing is normal. Beyond that is the confidence that if others have survived, we can too. When I was referring to emotions and evolution and how feeling emotions connects you with your ancestors, I was remembering this academic study from Finland entitled Bodily Maps of Emotions. It was published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, and the results of it are printed on the back of the Order of Service. It says that emotions are often felt in the body, and somatosensory feedback has been proposed by the authors to trigger conscious emotional experiences. The study reveals maps of bodily sensations associated with different emotions using a unique topographical self-reporting method. In 5 experiments with 700 participants, they showed them 2 silhouettes of bodies alongside emotional words, stories, movies, or facial expressions. And they asked the participants to color the body regions whose activity they felt increasing or decreasing while viewing each stimulus. And so they would write in the instructions, for this body, please color the regions whose activity becomes stronger or faster, and that's what you see as reds or yellows. And then they said, color the regions whose activity becomes weaker or slower, and that's the blue colors. Across all 700 participants, different emotions were consistently associated with statistically distinct bodily sensation maps across the experiments. And it was also consistent cross-culturally. They had participants from Finland and Sweden and Western Europe, but also from East Asia, from Taiwan. Perception of these emotion-triggered bodily changes may play a key role in generating consciously felt emotions, is what the authors concluded. And a final thought from Pema Chodron, a Tibetan Buddhist teacher and prolific author. She writes in her book, Places That Scare You. So we ask ourselves, what do I do when I feel I can't handle what's going on? Where do I look for strength? And in what do I place my trust? The Buddha taught that flexibility and openness bring strength, and that running from groundlessness weakens us and brings pain. But do we understand that becoming familiar with the running away is the key? Openness doesn't come from resisting our fears, but from getting to know them well. I personally found this whole experience funny in the sense that this answer to my friend came out of me organically. And if I was to estimate how many times I follow my own advice in my own life when my own heart hurts, I could honestly say I do that rarely. Most of my heartache coping mechanisms usually involve a mixture of avoiding, fantasizing or daydreaming, and reaching for chocolate chip cookies. So if stopping and actually feeling your feelings seems too overwhelming, as it does to me most of the time, I invite you to bring your awareness to that avoiding, that running away, the grasping. That can be a place to start. I invite you to share in a moment of stillness and silence together. Heartbreak happens. Love never fails. May we remember we are not alone. Remember we can choose to be kind and loving to people all around who may be heartbroken too. Remember that we are held by a love that has never and will never let us go. May it ever be so. Amen. This morning, as we receive the offering, give not from the top of your purse, but from the bottom of your heart. This morning's offering will now be received in gratitude to continue the mission of this congregation.
I forgot to remind folks that you could text me a joy and sorrow. So if you want to sneak one in while we together read in your order of service for the joys and sorrows. Your joy is multiplied in its sharing. Your sorrow is lightened in its sharing. The stories that are shared weave together to strengthen our community as we care for one another. If you are willing and able to rise and join us in the closing hymn, number 6, Just as Long as I Have Breath.
Love and yes to ice cream. Go in peace.